was in the bathtub, making soup for the ambassadors. And I am in the hallway, singing to the troubadours. And the kings are all lined up outside the gate, and the autumn bell's ringing, but they'll just have to wait. Where's the Joker? Have you seen him around with his three-cone cap that he wears like a crown? Have you seen his striped stockings and heard his sad tale about the kids under the carpet and the purple humpback whales? Here come the ambassadors, they show up one by one. Brett is tasting all the soup to see if it is done. And Wendy's on the windowsill, waiting to be let in. And we're all in the bathtub now, making bathtub gin. And the kings storm the hallway, they've climbed up through the gate. They didn't mean to be impolite, but they just couldn't wait. Here comes the Joker, with his silly grin. He carries a martini, made of bathtub gin. Here comes the Joker, we all must laugh, 'cause we're all in this together, and we love to take a bath.
Not great. Adam, thank you so much. Simone, I'm a huge fan, honey. Please keep singing. I think that was great. Hey, everybody. It's Elizabeth Beck here with my dear pal, Tim Warren. Say hi, Tim.
Good evening. How is everybody today?
A little sidekick of the evening. So, the reason we are here tonight, of all nights. Tim, do you know exactly why we're here tonight, of all nights?
I do.
We want to tell our friendly audience here where we should be right now. Everyone.
Well, we should be on tour. What stop would it be right now?
This was the beginning of Deer Creek. So Tim and his wife Kristen and myself and my husband Kevin had big plans. I mean, we had babysitters, we had campsites, we had hotel, we had tickets. Did you keep your tickets?
Yeah, we kept our tickets.
Yeah, we kept our tickets. Did you guys keep your tickets?
Deer Creek 2021.
And you know, I mean, Tim, have you ever been to Deer Creek?
Yeah, I've been there
Okay.
a bunch of times. Yeah.
Okay.
We've done the whole camping and non-camping experience experience at Deer Creek. And I believe we'll be getting a hotel next year when those tickets finally come
Oh
through.
my gosh. Yeah, I think Kevin just canceled the hotel reservation like last week. We held on to it to the bitter end, knowing better. But yeah, that's why we're all gathered. And I thought, well, if we did this, then I wouldn't be, sitting around sobbing, drinking wine. I could sit around and giggle and drink wine on a Friday night with you guys talking about summer tour. We're here to talk about summer tour. Hi, everybody. Summer tour. This is a live stream of us, me doing a reading, and then also answering questions. The reason my friend Tim is all the way back there is
Hi.
because we're practicing social distance.
And believe it or not, we are way more than 6 feet away.
But this is my friendly kitchen, and my husband gets all the credit for doing all the fabulous tech work for me and being up until midnight last night, making sure that we could get Adam and Simone's fabulous video. Adam Weinberg and Simone Weinberg. There's Kevin Newman. But check them out. They're from Florida, and you'll see them all over the fish community. So, Tim, I'm a poet. I'm going to hit you with a poem.
Bring it.
Okay, so one of the fun things that I got to do in this book was to write persona work. And so I wrote 2 poems in this novel out of Taylor's voice, as if she were writing the poetry. So that was a lot of fun for me. And then after this, we can talk about Claire's artwork as well. But I'd like to read this poem to you that Taylor, I think she wrote some of it at Blossom when she kind of got spun a little at Blossom and had a good time. And she found herself under a tree and wrote down the words, and then she reads this at Holler, the poetry series that she attends. I met God at the Speedway today. She spoke to me. Energy into the universe caught in ink, chance opportunity for dreams I have forgotten, ignited in pages of text. My heart leaps because when you do what you are meant, God speaks through you. I'm proud to remember second person, reminded by those who dare to howl. When I am not silent, not in mourning, breathe the present and don't worry your memory, taxed by useless words. Because poems are not designed to preach, but to find truth I seek as I listen to music and sigh. The happily ever after found in the space between breath. Everyone thinks, but only poets write down ideas caught as if pages were butterfly catchers. Yay. That's fun. I haven't read poetry in a while, so that was kind of fun to read some poetry. One of the other fun things I got to do for the book was to create artwork on behalf of Claire. And that was a blast for me because I was a painting major in college in undergrad. And so I got to create some fabulous installment pieces in my mind and then learn how to describe them on the page. That none of those actual installments exist in real life, but it was really fun to be able to think about that.
They don't exist yet.
Yet, that's right. So we could potentially, the one I would want to do the most though, Tim, would be Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, I agree. I think the idea of it was great, and I think it would fit into certain parking lots. Even in like Charlotte, there's some great spaces in that parking lot. And, you get those different lots as scenarios where there's different spots where you can install pieces of art and just kind of temporary nature kind of things that just contributes to the spirit and the feeling of what traveling and seeing fish and touring is all about.
Well, and we even paid attention to how Claire would adhere so they're hula hoops that she made the webs into that are on poles. And I had to look up, how could we adhere these to the ground so they'd be sturdy enough that everybody could put their friendship raindrops or dewdrops on the webs and not knock them over.
It's funny you say that because I noticed like the attention to detail when you talked about how they were installing them, so that actually stuck with me.
They had to be wook-worthy, remember? Wook-worthy. So speaking of wooks there, Tim, they have a long conversation about wooks. Do you think that's still a conversation or no? Is that an old conversation?
It's not an old conversation. I mean, whether they're heads or whatever, I mean, there's always going to be your stereotypical folks. And I myself have a beard and long hair, and it's kind of how I meet people. Fortunately, I think.
Right.
And, it's just like-minded kind of people coming together. So, the names are going to come, the names are going to go, and wook just happens to be the term of the 2020s.
And how about Uno? I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties here. My assistant here is interrupting the flow.
I'm not talking loud enough.
But what about Uno cards? Did you guys ever collect Uno cards? Did you guys ever do all of that?
We collected. I definitely have some from years past, but as far as distributing, it wasn't like a thing for me back in the time, because when we were touring hard, it was late 90s, early aughts, and when that was going on, it just really wasn't in my mindset. I wish I kind of collected a little bit more, but you know, it's typically when we do gift exchanges or are sharing with people. Sometimes, you know, you'll find an errant Uno card in there. So it's a good part.
Uno card. I like that.
It's a good part of our community, and it's definitely been around for 25 years.
Well, maybe it could be, the whole thing could be resurrected. I mean, we've got another year or so. I mean, that's a couple Uno decks.
I'm still sad that you just reminded me that we're missing out on Deer Creek right
I
now.
know. I'm so sorry.
There was a good part of my brain that was deflecting it and just not thinking about that at all, and then here we are, and I'm just a little sad. But we did keep our tickets, so 2021 will be a thing, and I'm dying to get back to Noblesville.
It will be. All right, well, let me take you to a show then, because I don't want to leave you blue and forlorn and unhappy. This is right as Sam, this was right as Sam was getting ready to get with the kids to go to Camden. So they're getting ready to go to Camden, New Jersey. So that's where they are, chapter 22. And the epigraph reads, from Chalk Dust Torture, can I live while I'm young? All aboard, Captain, I yelled. I don't know the last time I'd been this excited. Even going shopping yesterday was an adventure. The process itself was the end result, or the journey is the destination, whatever the cliche. Each step of the process contained me with delightful anticipation for what lay ahead when the band launched the first note. It was better than Christmas when I was a kid, and that was a magical time in New York for sure. 9 shows in 2 weeks on the road in this RV with this tribe was more than I could ask for. I don't think my father could have ever expected this is what I'd be spending my time doing when he arranged for me to stay the summer with Aunt Karen. But since she was cool with it, I wasn't going to worry. He and I had only spoken twice on the phone briefly. For once, I wasn't lonely after I hung up. I had a family now. I felt like my life had a purpose for the first time. I'm not quite sure what that purpose was exactly, other than traveling around, following fish, but I was sure it would lead somewhere, if nothing else, but then to expand my life. But something was fundamentally shifting inside me. The boulder of grief I concealed in sullen silence for the past 3 years was no longer a burden. My dreams were clear. I no longer felt haunted by guilt. My grief was more than a dull ache and a lingering bruise, something I knew I would carry for the rest of my life. However, I no longer throbbed with the shock of trauma. The loss was now wedged deeply within my heart, like a truth you just accept as a fact of life. If anything, I felt confident my mom would want me to echo her childhood footsteps. It was almost a quest of sorts. If I followed fish now, would it lead me back into a deeper understanding of her past, rooted deeply in this carried tradition? We weren't on a bus following the dead. We were a new generation of seekers, intent in preserving the beauty of freedom from that culture into a new evolution. Where it would lead was yet to be found, which incited pure adrenaline, anticipation to join in what would be a remarkable slice of reality shaped between a guitar, bass, keys, and drums performed by 4 ordinary dudes with extraordinary ideas. The fact that this tribe had found me and dragged me into this journey seemed destined. I couldn't wait to swim among the sea of thousands of other like-minded people. I was ready for all things. Okay, so I guess that finishes the reading section of our time together. So should we answer some questions? What do you think, Tim? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hearing you loud and clear on the volume issue. I'm very far away.
Okay,
I'm talking
right?
less
I
than
have a very loud voice. I
Elizabeth.
think everybody can hear me. Let's make sure. Let's just put it
They
between
can't.
us.
There you
Can
go.
you hear us? Can you give us some comments? How come I can't say any comments?
I will
What's
speak
going
a
on
lot
with
louder,
this?
but
This is
we are
weird.
trying to
Okay,
distance.
I thought I was going to see like hearts and comments. My husband has it all set up weird, so I'm not getting like the interactive experience I was hoping for. But considering that we finally found a way to stream it in the appropriate place, albeit a little late, I should count my blessings at this point. Okay, so I do have some. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. We are here. Okay.
Comments.
Now you ended it. You've ended it. You ended it.
No,
right?
it's
We're still
on.
going. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going. Great.
Now the hearts are coming through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I have lost you completely, though. Okay, we'll just stay right there. I don't need to see anything. Okay, one of the questions that I did receive from a reader, which was excellent, and this English teacher absolutely loves, is please stop. Did you put it back, please? Can we put it back? Thank you. I'm so sorry. Absolutely not in the communication broadcast industry at all over here. So.
Put it on the software,
I appreciate that. Can I?
I got
Okay.
comments.
Okay, good. Did you plan all the literary references, or did they just happen? Well, yes, I absolutely planned them, and really hardly, that's not true. I was going to say hardly anything just happens when writing, but that's absolutely not true. A lot of things just happen when you're writing. I have a phrase that I've been using lately that says, when you have, can you open that for me, please? When you have the nerve to start making art, magic happens, and that has been my experience for sure. So if you go in the top, okay, that's fine. So anyway, the literary references were planned. I wanted Sam to be a reader when I developed the protagonist for the books. So he begins with Catcher in the Rye, and I found that to be very important. Not that I was trying to recreate Catcher in the Rye in any way, shape, or form, but that teenage spirit, the idea that Holden sets off on adventure, that Sam was going to set off on adventure, was very clear at the very start of writing this manuscript. So that was pretty purposeful. I did have a divine experience with Growing Up Dead by Peter Connors I'd like to share with you guys. So I originally wrote this manuscript 6 years ago in a class with Gurney Norman, and I was trying to get my credits renewed so I could go back to teaching, and consequently I was able to write the manuscript over 2 semesters in studying with Gurney. So once I got that done, though, I put it into a drawer, and it was time to put my son through high school, and I went back to teaching. But last year he went to college, so I decided to pull the manuscript out of the drawer so I could stay busy and not lose my mind with my child leaving the home. So I pulled it out, and I, was kind of looking at it. And then about this time last year, I don't know if you remember this, Tim, but
Yeah.
Robert Hunter, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead, the poet, died. He died a good death of natural causes. He was older. And I was listening to the Grateful Dead channel on Sirius XM, and they had this author on there, Peter Connors, who wrote Growing Up Dead, and I was like, what? I'd never heard the book before, so I was like, oh, I have to get this book. Well, it was one of those experiences for me where I received the book, and I sat down and I read it in 24 hours. First of all, Peter and I are about the same age, so he got on tour with the Grateful Dead in 1986, which was when I graduated from high school and I was seeing the Grateful Dead for the first time. And all of a sudden, I realized I was inspired by his book that I wanted to change my manuscript and have this group of characters actually go on summer tour. So this is August, September of last year. Summer tour is just ending. Robert Hunter had died before Dick's, and so I was like, what if I pick up these characters and put them on tour? So Peter Connors' book is a memoir. It's his life story. Summer Tour is a piece of fiction. Peter Connors is about Grateful Dead. Mine is about Fish, but I thought this is my way that I can celebrate and pay tribute to our favorite band. And so in the original manuscript, there was a mythological show. Guess where it was? Can you guess, Tim?
Deer Creek.
Deer Creek,
Yeah.
right. So it was a mythological show, kind of a composite show, because I wasn't going to write a novel about kids without adding fish to begin with. But the entire course of the direction of the plot completely changed. So I took a 40,000 word manuscript and deconstructed it and rewrote the entire thing over the course of the year. So what I started doing was going back and streaming all the shows over the summer. And when I go walk for exercise and do my 3 miles, whatever chapter I was working on, I was, researching and studying that show. And the research was really fun. I researched every mile of everywhere they went. So in the book where Alex is sitting down trying to figure out the logistics of everything, I actually have notes and notes and notes figuring out the logistics. I figured out every RV park, the KOAs that they stayed at, the restaurants they ate.
I was around for a lot of that.
You were. So it was immersive. It was fun. So it became this awesome research project. So yeah, the literary references were absolutely on purpose. And I loved weaving other works within that work. I thought that was really cool. And I had to pay homage to the Goldfinch. I think Donna Tartt is like the most brilliant writer of our generation. So I wanted to make sure I added some of that in there too. All right, ready? Are all your characters entirely fictitious, or do you model them on people you know? Tim, would you like to discuss that one?
I'm in the book. I'm half of the Tim and Kristen from Kentucky that you'll find on page 310. We do pop up like Scooby-Doo villains like every once in a while. But it's all good. But yeah, no.
And like Scooby-Doo villains, that's exactly how kind of you actually I think you guys appear 3 times.
True.
3 times.
But those are the only 2 characters that I can speak.
Each one of the main characters are their own people for sure. Claire, Chris, Taylor, Sam, Alex, they're their own people, even Aunt Karen. But I did have fun. I did have fun putting you guys into it. So here's a fun story. Tippy.
Happy to be in it.
Yeah, good. So Tippy is real. Tippy, the host in Camden.
Oh, yeah.
So Camp Fitch is real. It's the summer camp I went to where my son went. But in the book, the kids meet Tippy, who happens to live. You gave me the neighborhood too. Forest
God.
something, Park Forest something.
Right outside of
Camden.
Right outside of Camden, Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill. There you go, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, because they come from New Jersey side, not the Philadelphia, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
I think we all know a Tippy. Like everyone's got that one person who's got that
Right.
base of operations that is just, your stop. So for Chris and I, when we did Summer Tour 2000, we did that burn from Toronto to Pittsburgh to Alpine in 3 days, and then there was 2 days off after that, and we stayed with our friend outside of Chicago. And Kathy is our friend who does that for us. So wherever she's located, luckily she's in Chicago now, and the dinner and a movie show this week was when we were in Chicago, and Kristen went to that show with her. Long story short, she put us up for 2 days, gave us a nice place to rest and shower up and get on the road. But I think Tippy, I think we all know a Tippy.
That's so good. I love that. Yeah, that's just so good to have friends like that. So, people ask me all the time, well, why didn't they they had to miss Alpine, I think, or no, Maine. I think my characters had to give up Maine.
Yep.
Because when you do the logistics, I was trying to think okay, how can I get a group of 17, 18-year-old kids, parents, permission? Because if you're going that one leg, that's 14 hours in one direction and then coming back down. I think that. So Tim, you've got some teenagers. When are you going to let them get into an RV and take off on fish tour?
I think as soon as they can drive. My teenagers are different than any other typical teenager. They have one phone between all 3 of my kids, and we have to remind them to take it when they leave the house. We've been homeschooling them for the last 4 years, and this year it's working out pretty good as an idea of going back to school. But we're just kind of more accustomed to it, and they're just a little bit more mature than the average bear. So I would put my soon-to-be 15-year-old on the road tomorrow if that's what you needed to do.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's really good. Well, I got reconnected with Tippy and the whole thing, so that was kind of cool. So Gurney Norman and Ed McClanahan are writers here in Kentucky. They were part of the group of Kentuckians who went out to Palo Alto, California in the 60s and knew Ken Kesey and that little band called the Warlocks and all of that. They live here in Lexington, Kentucky. Holler Poet Series was a poetry series that went on here in Lexington for 5 years, and we loved it. And I miss it, so I brought that back up. And I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of miscellaneous, and I like to use people's names too. So my one friend Molly and I talked together years and years ago. So I used her last name O'Donnell as the English teacher, even though she teaches science, just because it makes it's kind of my love letter to you. Okay, so when Sam goes to the first gathering at Aunt Karen's house and he meets all of those people are real, like people that I know. So Mason is actually a banjo playing French translator here in town. Really cool dude, yeah, right? It's awesome.
I feel like you're blowing up his spot though.
And then Josh and Lauren own the Centered Yoga place. John Lackey is a painter. He does not own a sunflower field, but he is a painter and a fabulous guy. So, all right, another question. Is there a sequel? Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so when people say sequel, I always think that means like those horrible, terrible, no good, very bad Twilight books, of which I read all of them. But because she never closed the plot until the end of the third book, like, is Bella going to be a freaking vampire or not, right? You had to read that third book. So in terms of me extending a plot, no, you had beginning, middle, and end in Summer Tour. I think that that's pretty clear. But I was not done with the characters, and so I am 40,000 words into the next book. It starts with Claire, Chris, Taylor, and Sam. The first book is told in first-person narration through Sam's voice, Sam's experience. Sam's in every single scene. This next book is told in 4 different. It's told in omniscient third person, so it's he, she, it. They do this and he goes there or whatever. And this way, I'm kind of picking up on all 4 of the kids, and we're looking at their life when they come back from tour as seniors in high school facing the pandemic. So they're going to, miss prom and graduation. They're going to get very involved in Black Lives Matter and the protests. And we're going to be looking at this world that we're experiencing now through their eyes. So
take these characters and just drop them into what we're experiencing every single day.
Right. Yep. And, so we've got Summer Tour. Tim, here's the thing, man. Last summer when I was when I was writing this and reconfiguring it and doing all that research, and I'm boring you guys with all of the details, never in a million years did I actually think I was capturing an idyllic world that doesn't exist right now. That never occurred to me. So what do you think, man? How long until we go back to that world?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a really long time before anything gets back to whatever we'll consider normal next. Live music is going to be a big part of that. I'm seeing bands like Aqueous and Mungian doing a lot of like drive-in shows where they're dropping like chalk lines of what your space is.
Mo's doing that. I think they're has the Mo show already gone on?
I do not know about Mo, but I know that there's been a few schedules.
Because I know people were really excited about, I would love to see Mo up there. That would be great. So, I mean, do they hang out in their cars or?
No, basically you get a spot to park your car, and then to keep 6 feet, they give you like your own space to dance in. So it's a lot bigger than your car, so you have it right there to tailgate on.
Okay, this is taking tarping to the whole flippin' new.
Unfortunately, it's
right though. But this has been an issue in the fish community for so long. No tarping. You don't own the real estate. This is a flippin' show, right?
Yeah, but we all know what it's like to get that great spot at a festival where you're like, yeah, I'm just going to string this over here and we're going to have shade. Anybody that went to Fish Oswego knows what I'm talking about because it was 105 degrees and there was no shade anywhere.
We've never been to any hot shows, ever, never. Never carried bags of ice. Do you ever do that? Portable air conditioning? I'm
Never a bag of ice, but I definitely had to go fetch ice before. Where bringing it back on my back was the best part of my day.
I mean, you're already soaking wet anyway. So my husband was like bought us bags of ice, and we held them, and like you hold them like a baby, and then when you want to lie down, you put it behind your back. I mean, you're soaking wet and sweat anyway, so you may as well cool off your body.
Our neighbor in Oswego fell asleep in his car with the air conditioning on because he got sunburnt like lobster burn, like everywhere. And he woke up and he got out of the car and he had actually left his directional on the entire time. So he comes out and said, "How long was I turning left?" We were like, "Hours, dude."
Oh my gosh! Did he have a battery? Could he get back home?
He was running the car, so I'm more worried about him running out of gas while trying to get out of there.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh gosh. Okay, why did you use the Calico House? And is Catwise in the novel? I think that most of you, if you've read the book, realize that there's a fairy tale element on purpose that I wanted to use as a structure for the novel. And I wanted Sam to be lifted up out of this gray landscape of his life. You know, his mother's gone. He's been at boarding school. He's been isolated. He's been alone. We don't have a lot of backstory about what happened there for those 3 years during boarding school. It's pretty quiet. And I wanted him to enter into a world that he had never seen before. So I've always admired Kat's art, and I've loved her house. So believe it or not, guys, I got permission from her 6 years ago. When I wrote the first manuscript, the Calico House existed, and I said, "Hey, Kat, may I have permission?" And she graciously gave me written permission. Now, it is interesting that Kat O'Sullivan is a K and Aunt Karen and the hippie and the Grateful Dead thing. Very reminiscent. They're both artists. I mean, I don't know. I would like to hang out and retreat at the Calico House with Kat. And okay, so now check this out, though. This is the last time this exists. You guys know a tornado, it didn't hit the whole house. It hit a part of it. Yeah, just this year. Like just a few weeks ago. Luckily, they're all fine, thank goodness, and they are rebuilding. But what she's putting in for her studio and stuff is going to be phenomenal, and it's not going to look the same. It's just weird. So this is capturing an era as well. But she was very gracious. I did appreciate, though, how protective everybody was in the fish world when this first came out, and people were asking, is that Kat's house? And did you know? And are you allowed? I just thought that was so sweet. I think other people may have gotten irritated, but I really appreciated how protective everybody's natures are with each other. So I thought that was super cool. You got anything else? Got any other questions?
Nothing fresh. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead and
Any
bring them on
questions?
up.
Okay. How long did it take you to write the book? I think you guys know that. 6 years, 7 years. You know what I wanted to sing? 6 pounds, 7 pounds. Why wait on a sunny day? Yeah, nobody pays me to sing. To rewrite it, though, was a pretty crazy, hectic schedule. I was teaching full-time in the public schools last year, so I was kind of burning the candle at both ends. I was pretty obsessed to get this done. So from August until February, I would go to school and teach all day, and then I would come home around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and have an evening with Kevin, and then I would go to bed early, like 9 o'clock p.m., because I would wake up suddenly at 3 or 4 in the morning and be ready to write. And so then I'd write from 3 or 4 until 6 or so, take a little cat nap, and then get up at 7 and go and start the whole thing all over again, put in another 8 hours of teaching, and da-da-da-da. And you would think that takes like discipline, but I'm the least disciplined person that you'll ever meet. I had no discipline. The characters, they were pushy. You've met them, right? I mean, so even if I didn't want to write and I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to sleep or whatever. I mean, they were like pounding on the door, like, shh, they were in my dreams. They were everything. So I'm hoping that the next manuscript might be done as early as December. But I've been hammering away at that since, like, I literally finished it. We went to Madison Square Gardens for New Year's Eve so I could figure out how to finish the book. and then came back that January and finished it, and in February started writing. So I've been writing the second one from February probably until December or so, which is cool.
I'm looking forward to revisiting these characters in a different capacity. So, with this book, everything was through Sam's eyes, like you said, but to see a more omniscient look at everyone else's experiences, I'm just excited because I feel like there's a lot more depth in these folks, and I'm excited to see what you're going to do with them next.
Thank you, and you're right. I think it was kind of a learning experience. I think that it's a natural tendency to want to write in first person, because it's immediate. And when you're writing it, I felt this and I smelled that, and whatever it is. And so I'm stretching, and I think that I learned a lot in writing the first one. Many of you noticed I made mistakes. I did. I'm a self-published writer. I make mistakes. And I think I'm growing a lot as a writer and kind of stretching what I'm capable or doing and exploring more of their characters. But it's tricky, and so I started it naturalistically with Claire. She's my girl. And I wrote a chapter for her, and then for Chris, and I was very clear. They were telling me what was going on, and Taylor. And then all of a sudden I thought, well, what the hell's Sam doing? He can't just be hanging out. I can't have this huge transformative experience go on in the first book and then leave my readers with going, where's Sam? Like, we signed up to read about Sam again, ma'am. And so consequently, I realized I needed to bring him back into the story. One moment, please. Is there anything I can do? And so consequently, I realized, well, you know what? He moved from isolation and he got this community of friends. I want to kind of keep the idea that that's the way he wants to live his life now, is through a community of people. So, Tim, hold on to your hat. I got to create a super secret society at the boarding school. Do you know about these super secret societies?
Unfortunately, yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, good. What
They
time?
They all have them. They're all like pre-fraternities and lots of.
Well, but there's super secret societies at the Ivy Leagues too that are separate from the actual Greek fraternities.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's kind of cool. So I got to do all this research, and Sam is getting tapped for a super secret society. So that's kind of cool.
Amazing.
Stay tuned.
We have a question from Nicole.
Okay.
She asks,
Hi, Nico.
as an artist, what emotional obstacles did you have to overcome in the process of publishing your book?
In the process of publishing it, ego, for one, I had to overcome. There's no ego in the game when you're a writer. You need to be very open to criticism. You need to be very open to understanding the mistakes you made and those kind of things. I don't know if I've actually overcome any emotional issues. I think I'm still dealing with them. I have a lot of anxiety about having to do stuff like this. I think it's really weird that writers are by nature kind of dreamy kind of people to begin with. And we have to kind of stay in that space in order to write our words, but then we're expected to go on cameras and talk about it and be funny and charming. So that's a stretch for me.
I can't imagine the anxiety that was involved just because you're creating something, and by publishing it by yourself, you're not having a fresh set of eyes on it. You're not getting those recommendations. You're not getting a lot of that stuff. So I feel like the vulnerability of actually birthing this project and putting it out there in the world must have been like chaotic.
Right, because if you're a traditional artist, you get picked up first by an agent, and the agent's telling you how great your work is, and then helping you, like, you need to change this and edit that, and then they sell your work to a press, and then you have these editors, and these people are telling you all this awesome stuff before you actually, showing your drafts is like letting people into your dreams. It's very vulnerable. So when I hit enter, I literally was shaking, and the first comments from people, I was very scared. So what I've learned through the process is that I absolutely suck at marketing. I'm very proud to say that Addicted to Fish kicked me the hell out of their group today because they don't like my marketing techniques, and I've gotten some shade from other places. I have a BA in English Lit with a minor in painting and a master's in education. I never took a marketing class a day in my life, so I'm terrible at it. Social media, having to be on it all the time. So that's trippy. Tim, I was not very much of a computer person. I was the last 5 years, particularly, I taught drama. So I was a performance-based class, and I'm used to lecturing with kids or loading in and working with their rehearsals. I'm not a behind the computer screen kind of person. So we hit a pandemic, and it's all computers and all screens. And then the minute school gets done, like the next week, I decide, I'm going to go ahead and publish this book.
Why not?
It's really messed with my dreams, you guys. Like, I dream in like statuses, like feeds or something. Yeah, it's concerning. So
That might be a problem.
I'm not happy.
Well,
I'm not happy.
I think it's really difficult to market these days, just too, because it's all new. So I used to be the technologically inclined person in the house, but if you put Instagram in front of me, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have to say, Chris, help.
I know,
So
and
I think it's
hashtags
just,
are different from ats. Did you know that? Yeah, so I was like, I screwed all of it up. But you know what? That's fine, because I actually have learned so much. That first couple weeks to get ready to hit enter and publish, and then the first couple weeks of having it, I have never worked so hard. And that included when I was in undergrad and graduate school, and when I was a social worker back in the day, and working 8 to 5 during the day, and then actually physically going to graduate school. Like, we used to go to school kids, like physically go into buildings and take classes with professors. That used to happen, and it was great for me to learn as much as I've learned. So hopefully with the next book, I actually, if the pandemic had not happened, you guys would never have read this book by now. I was querying to get a literary agent, and I still would like to get a literary agent, and I was getting rejected. Tim, literary agents don't like fish, man. What is wrong with them?
Well, literary agents are looking for something that's mass marketable, and
Fish is mass marketable, damn it.
From where you live and from where I live, yes. However, to sell this to an average young adult clientele or population, it's not going to be the easiest sell.
Well, the cool thing that I learned through this process is I actually have a reader a couple readers are in their 70s. They don't know the first thing about fish, and they were more than willing to suspend reality and jump into realities. But don't we all do that as readers? I mean,
they didn't ask for footnotes.
I will tell you, though, I wish I had a button to tell you which music to listen to, because we've had some 70-year-olds wandering aimlessly into the fish archive without guidance.
I feel like you need to have QR codes that lead to Spotify or YouTube pages.
What is that called? A QR code?
Yeah, just print a QR code.
What is that? A QR code? I'm writing that down.
Well, it's where you take a picture from your cell phone and it brings you to the right page where you can actually experience whatever it is.
Ooh, okay, let's do this. I mean, okay, I was reading to my friend this weekend, and we got to the epigraph for Claire that was Winter Queen, and she had never heard that before. So I queued it up, and we listened to it right away, which was great. What era did that come from, Winter Queen? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
I would have said it's a 1.0, but I don't think...
Yeah, it's old for sure.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I started questioning myself.
But I feel like if I got to the end of the book and there was a QR code that led me to the YouTube video of Rescue Squad.
Oh my gosh, right.
I think that would have brought me a little bit of comic relief and got me over the remorse of the words ending.
So have you re-listened to that show a lot lately? I know after.
I had right after. I actually have been listening to the one that they skip in the book, the 30th.
Oh, right, yeah, that's funny.
It's an insane Tweezer Fest. And
but they didn't have the clones.
They did not have the clones, however, it's an insane Tweezer Fest. But I do have both copies of the video, which were obtained through semi-legal manners, on my computer, and we'll pull them out eventually.
Yeah, I just love that children's choir.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I felt like that was a huge treat for sure. And I was chatting with a guy on a podcast earlier this week about the awesome influence where I feel Trey is really embracing the Broadway influence on his life. So we know that he actually wrote and produced his own Broadway show, Hands on Hardbody, and learned a lot from that. But we've also learned from his interviews and from Bella's interviews, like how much their family listened to Broadway music, went to the shows, were very actively engaged in that world. So I think one of our favorite lines, Tim, you and I like from Drift While You're Sleeping. I like when the clones go, "We don't need no ride, so step aside,
Oh, yeah,
step
for sure.
aside." And I just think that's so Broadway, right?
And that's exactly what New Year's was. It was a Broadway show. So
It really was.
They really committed to a lot of that choreography and a lot of the time to actually compose those songs in a way that would come off in that Broadway manner, and it hit it on the head.
It did.
I still think about it every day.
And okay, so they say Chris Caruta, the light guy, is the fifth member of the band. I think What's the Use was his solo.
And I mean, we've talked about how I feel about What's the Use before. It's that harmonic chord that really just kind of pauses everything, and just asks everyone to just recognize what's going on at that current time. So that's what it does for me.
Well, that and the use of breath and silence.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, you have a venue that big, and you can like stop, and then pick right, and no one, whoop, nothing. I mean, it was like.
And we're typically a rowdy bunch. Like that show spilled out onto 34th Street with great, terrifying fury.
That was so much fun. Although, yeah, the whole thing about it being awesome and awful all at the same time with poor Trey stuck up there the whole time. When did you actually realize he was stuck?
I didn't realize he was stuck until way later in the show. And Kristen's like, "Yo, he's stuck." And I was like, I don't think he's stuck. He must be up there for a reason. And then just watching him trying to balance, because there was lots of left-right shifting kind of thing going on with the platform, and then finally he just kind of kneeled down.
The kneel down thing, yeah, that caught my breath for sure. Yeah. And I think he was very frustrated because I think he had some dancing that he wanted to do for Mike and other things that they had planned. But you gotta love that. No matter what happens, you just pile through. Just like today, so many of you may have seen that I started live streaming on the wrong place, and you know what? We just picked up where we are now. Hopefully, somebody's out there.
We're still here.
And it's my first time. We're learning, but you pile through no matter what, even if your husband wants to kill you in the process. My sweet Newey, he'll get over it. Didn't he look cute in his donut shirt though? Super cute.
He is cute. I'm repping Nassau Coliseum today. For those of you who don't know, which is probably everybody but my wife who's listening, I grew up in the shadow of Nassau Coliseum, so if you've never seen a show there, shame on you. But it was about 3 miles from my house, and I used to ride my bike to see hockey games there. And my beloved Islanders, have made it to the next round of the playoffs today. So,
are you talking about sports?
Sports. Sports now.
Does it exist?
They exist.
Okay.
But it's in a bowl.
Which comes first, sports or music?
Music for sure.
Which is going to come back first, sports or music?
Sports will come back first.
Okay, have you seen the hotel one though? So the hotel show is that it's the side of a hotel and they all have balconies, and you can put 4 people per room and bring your own drinks or whatever, and then the band's out there and you're out on the balcony to see the show.
Where is this?
I don't know, like in Amsterdam or something. The Fish Chicks tell me it. The Fish Chicks tell me everything. You do understand the whole...
Like they could do that I feel like they could do that in Mandalay Bay in Vegas, but those windows don't open for a reason.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was like a motel. I don't know. They were individual balconies or what. Fish Chicks, help me out here. You girls know. I mean, those women know everything. So, Tim, what about the evolution of women? Because you're a man surrounded by women. You have a son, but you have a wife and 2 daughters.
Sure.
So y'all are outnumbered. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of women in the fish community from when you started? And when was your first show?
My first show was in the late 90s. I want to say 96.
96, right. Mine was 92, so we're right around the same. When I started going, there were no girls.
Yeah, it was a bro fest for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there were lots of girlfriends here and there, but there was never groups of women coming to shows.
Right.
But now with groups like Groove Safe, I really think women's rights at shows is certainly something that should be important to all of us. So I think people are way more hyper aware of that nowadays. Back in the 90s too, if you're looking at, the Woodstock reboots that they did, there was a lot of groping going on. There's a lot of just uncool stuff happening. So I think it's a way friendlier space. And because we are family, I feel like everyone just looks out for each other a little bit more. So I think we need to keep talking about it for sure to ensure a safe space moving forward and to get it a little bit more 50-50. I don't know where I don't know what the reason for it being more dudes at shows for any reason, but yeah, I'd like to see a more of a 50-50 split.
Well, see, and it was so weird too because okay, so it's this big boy band, right, with a bunch of monkey cats, jumping up and down to guitar peel-out music and crescendos into oblivion. But there's this ethereal, floaty, yummy fish that is really the majority of it. And yet, women were late to the party.
I think you're going to see bigger groups of tourists that are just dudes
Okay.
going to shows, so I think that's always going to be a factor.
Right.
But I think the core traveling group, I feel like it's becoming more balanced.
More balanced.
But I feel like any concert you're going to go to, you're going to see packs of bros rolling together.
Well, that's true. I mean, and that's nice, for guys to have friendships like that. And I think that you find that in the music community and the sports community, the hiking community.
Yeah, but
the climbers.
It's 2020, and I'll go solo, but Kristen won't because she doesn't feel like it's a safe opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we do definitely have to watch ourselves.
But
Or what
venues
have
are
you.
typically located in sketchy areas of town, and
Like Camden.
it's the United States in 2020. Like there's still, it's
Yeah.
not a safe, 100% safe space.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in the next book, Paradise Lost, they do have opportunity to go to see Trey Anastasio band in Louisville, and that was the show I went to with your wife.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And did I ever tell you that, I was a huge Led Zeppelin girl back in high school. And for whatever reason, I just didn't put together. I mean, I knew Robert Plant. I know this sounds so stupid, right? I knew
this guy covering Zeppelin songs.
No, it wasn't that bad. Oh shit. No, I was so Trey Anastasio. Like that was all I was there for. I didn't care about Alison Krauss. I didn't care about Hall & Oates. And I was like, oh, Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. And I wasn't connecting it. The first three notes. And when he came out and said, in the evening, by the end of that first song, I was boohoo crying. And he was phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. You guys, he still has the voice. He's barrel-chested. Brought out this fabulous young fiddler, violinist woman that was real tiny with the short white hair. And I mean, he could wail. It was so good.
Well, when Zeppelin ended, he kind of was just like, okay, I'm going to do something else now. And his openness to collaboration really speaks to what a lot of our community is about. So I got to see B.B. King because of Fish. So that was never on my list of, he was always on my list of people to see, but never would go to a headlining show, and I got to see him play with Fish, and that's a big part.
Totally. Yeah, Sting with the Grateful Dead.
So, absolutely.
Violent Femmes with the Grateful Dead.
Any number of the rotating keyboarders with the
Hey, did you see that Polo G? He has taken that's Just the Way It Is from Bruce Hornsby, remixed then in the 90s by Tupac. And now Polo G has a whole new rendition.
Huh.
So I think I just saw, I haven't read it yet, Bruce Hornsby has a new magazine article out talking about his connection with the hip-hop community. Because I'll tell you, that song, I mean, musicians have really enjoyed sampling it and recreating it. And it's really powerful, energetic stuff. So
yeah, and even if you take a step out of the jam band scene, there's definitely a lot more musical collaboration going on. So there's a lot of exciting things happening and people you'd never think to put together. So I feel like as we move forward, I think we're going to do a lot more of distance people collaborating on tracks. If you think about the Postal Service album where, Ben and Jenny were mailing it back to each other, and, it's just going to be an evolution of music. So I think we're going to see a lot of, you know, I did this, you add something to it, and
Passing it back.
I think we're going to see a lot of that stuff released this fall and into early spring.
Yeah, and I love that. That's we call it the mystical, magical, trippy kind of poetry that I do with my students, my poets, the out loud, at least Town Out Loud, and things like Teen Howl. So when we workshop, I'll write a line of a poem and not tell you what it's about, and I fold it over, and then you write a line, then I write a line, then you write a line, and back and forth, and it's amazing. Like repeated words and energy and themes and just all the stuff that comes up that you could have never in a million years anticipated would have happened, and it's a lot of fun to see what will happen.
Well, getting back to the book too, a lot of what we're just talking about is what really rang true in the book for me, was that everything was familiar, and those moments of kismet when you're moving along and you're proactively contributing to a community and you're receiving from that community. That's a lot of the stuff that rang true for me. So I don't know what things are going to look like as we come out of this pandemic, but it was certainly a great reminder of what brought me to following live music and what will continue keeping me following live music.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all watching what Trey's doing right now. Keep going. And we're also still holding out. So we all thought when the pictures were leaked that the guys were at the farmhouse that we were going to maybe get even a song.
Please, Jesus.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm not even going to be greedy. And I know, I mean, Trey has been so generous, right? I mean, every time he finishes a song, we get to see it. And he's sharing all the stuff and the new album and everything. But Trey, if you're out there. Okay, John, Paige, any of you? Okay, Mike.
Don't forget Mike. Sorry, Cactus.
Can we have a song? We'll just take a song. And on that note, I want to say thank you to my friend Tim. Thanks, man.
Oh, no problem.
For
Thank
hanging
you.
out with me. And thank you guys for being here with me. And yeah, maybe we'll do this again. Peace.